All right, welcome to a new video. This will be an instruction video on how to do some carving, and I'm going to show you how to take a piece of, this is 1.5-inch foam. I'm going to carve it down, and we're going to create this right here. So I'm going to show you how we can accomplish that. This is just cheap insulation foam that you can get at any hardware or home improvement store. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the show on this, and we'll see at the end with more information on how you can possibly get this as a casting house build. This is going to be a promontory area. Let me see if I can get it so you can see the drawing on the pink here. You can see the outline of the cliff right here. I've drawn this out, taking into account I put the basic lighthouse in place. So you can see what it's like. This is going to drop straight down. I'm going to have a path that's going to come down here to this area right here where I'll probably put a dock off of right here. This will probably be a third level, second level, and the top level right here. What this is good for, I think who needs a lighthouse in their layout, but it's a really neat feature. Say you've got an area, a corner, that's not good for anything, that won't fit in industry, anything like that. You'd be able to pop this right in there and put this on a surface that I will show how to do later for the water. And it'll be a great focal point because right here you can see this is a hollow tube right here, and then there's the top of it. You can actually light this up and get one of those rotating lights to make it look like a beacon. So that'd be a nice little point of interest. And back here you could have, if you get your curve going out back into the layout, you could put it like right here. So that would just be a nice point of interest right here. I'm doing this on 1.5 inch thick foam, which is it's pretty standard for what people use. So you actually could just drop this right into the layout, or you could shave the bottom down a little bit if you need to adjust for whatever thickness you use. But that's what I'm doing, is just something people use as standard these days. So anyway, I'll set this up and we'll go to doing the carving. All right, so we're going to start the carving. I want to go over materials real quick that I'll be using for this. This is the paint. This is 6 different colors of grays and browns. Just basic craft acrylic paints. We'll be getting to that shortly. The piece of foam. This is maybe a 1 foot by 10 inch square piece. You'll need a good sharp X-Acto blade to make good sharp cuts. And then of course the lighthouse itself. So for this part of the build, just getting the rock part here, that's all you'll need for this. This is maybe total cost is about $3 in paint right here, of which you'll just use a fraction of that for what you have to do. So this will actually do multiple projects. Good sharp blade, probably a little pack of them I think is around $3. That'll give you about 5 or 6 blades. And if you bought a 2 foot by 4 foot sheet of this, or a 4 by 8, this will probably factor down to about $1, maybe something right around there. All right, so get these out of the way and we'll start carving. Now, I'm going to start this is I'm going to start with the outline right here. I'm going to cut this piece off completely, and then I'm going to start working my way down right along this edge right here, getting lower to get the lower parts first, and then we'll work our way up by level after that. You don't have to be perfect on it because we're going to be doing a lot of cuts anyway. I'm going to get myself a little more room here to work the edges of that path. And again, we're just getting the basics here. I don't know if I've got enough of that to pop this or not. Not quite. We'll just go, I'll have to go vertical here for a little bit. Almost. In case you don't see it on the camera, that sound, that snapping sound is me just popping this off of here. It's just the foam breaking. Okay. All right, so there's the basic shape. So now I want to cut down to this level right here, get this down to about right in here somewhere. And the way you do that is you just do a little layer at a time. You want to try to go as horizontal as you can with your slices. I'm going to keep working down. All I'm doing is just checking level right now. Okay, doing all right. All right, we're getting pretty close here for this first level. I'm going to come to about right here. all the way across. Be careful on this as you're getting down here. You don't want to try to break that if you can keep from it. You can always glue it back on with Fabri-Tac if we need to, but you definitely want to try to keep that as whole as possible. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm getting ready to bring the other level down. I'm going to work this out right here where you have kind of a transition where I cut this down to about this level here. I want to have a kind of a jagged transition right here. There we go. Now I'm going to cut this back so it's, there we go. All right. All right, there we go. So now you can see how this is dropped down. We're now going to take this area down right here, pretty close to this level right here. Maybe just a little above it. You can see I cut these lines right here just to make it easier to pull off in small sections versus trying to do a whole. Then you can just see how that just pulls back as far as the depth of the blade goes in. So now we'll go a little further. You want to kind of try to watch it and not try to go too far back. You don't want to go into that sidewall too far if you can keep from it. Sometimes you just have to, though. Things are uneven and you can't quite see where you're at. Alright, so now I'm going to go into quiet mode for a little bit here, and that way we can do a fast forward on all this, because I pretty much told you how I'm going to accomplish all of this. So next we'll just finish this whole part up. You can see the path that we did here. This was the idea for this, was to go down to a little area here for a dock. But as the foam was cutting and breaking, we actually created some really neat spots. You can see here, when this is sitting on the water edge, or on the water surface, this has created a really neat depression right here. Looks like an underwater cave starting. I could keep shaving this area down to get to the dock area by creating a switchback for this, come here and then come down. But I really like how that looks right there, and the way this is going to be a sheer cliff on this side. So I have already got this down almost to water level. With the docks that I have already made, it would actually be fine being right here, bringing it out, which probably makes a little more sense. I'll bring this down right here a little bit. I'll make this more of a high area right here. I'll bring this down a little bit right here, and I'll just create a path to come down here for the docks. I think that way when it's sitting in the corner on the water, you'd have the docks jutting out right here with maybe some legs on them coming out with a couple of boats. And then this, I may do some handrails like right here and along the edge right here to make it a nice kind of a touristy feature. And then of course here there'll be probably some just some handrails along right here for tourists that are adventurous and shouldn't be out on areas like this. So I'll work this now, and I'll get this to where this can be a nice area. This isn't going to be a boat unloading area. This will be just a mooring point with like a parking lot up here to where you could leave your boat. Like tourists coming in, they want to stop and look at the lighthouse. They can moor here, come up the path, and then take a look at everything and come down over here. So I will go ahead and cut this back with just a footpath going down here. And then we'll just see how that looks. Okay, so that's the basic carving done. So now what I'm going to do is get my Dremel, and I'm going to clean all these little edges up, get all these little bits here, so when I put the plaster over the top, I don't have a lot of this I'm going to have to work around. So that, plus that'll smooth all of this in, and I'll be able to get this pathway here. As you can see, the pathway comes up now. This way right here, comes up right here, up here to where possibly out to a parking lot, and then I'm going to smooth this right here in to bring it up to the lighthouse. And as we can see here, how are we doing as far as the size goes? Oh, yeah, that'll be really nice. Yep, that'll work out perfect. Okay, so let me get the Dremel and we'll get started. Now, if you don't have a Dremel, like I've said on other videos, this can be accomplished with just a block sandpaper like this and some files. But I'm going to try to go through this kind of quick, so I'm just using this. And I've learned this from trial and error. In some situations it's okay, but in most it's not. You need to cover this entire surface with something. I use joint compound. It seems to work the best for me. Plaster can get too runny, and joint compound is really carvable after you're done. So I'm going to cover this entire thing with joint compound with a variety. Let's see here. This is what I use. It's about $7 for this, and a putty knife. This I think was $2, and I use a popsicle stick with the end cut off to get into the smaller areas. Okay, so I'm just going to clean the edge off a little bit. When it's dry, it's pretty easy to do. The side that I use, I always keep really smooth and clean. All right, now on this, you can see I'm down on this right here. I've probably used this for half a dozen projects already, so it will go quite a ways. It doesn't take much to cover everything. So I'm going to start with bringing the front edge along here. So you just get a little bit of that. Okay, you can see the advantage of this. Now you can start to see some lines more like cracked off areas and shaved areas. So this is a great thing to use on this. So all right, we're just going to go into quiet mode, and I'm just going to work on it and do the fast forward. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this part of the video up. You can see how that's really starting to, right over here, that's really starting to add some texturing to it. That when we do the paint, it's going to look like a lot of rock. I will do a second coat of this after this is dried to add some more texturing to it. But it's basically the same process as what I'm showing you now. So I'm going to just end this here, and the next time you see this, this will be completely covered. Okay, so here's where we sit now. All of the plaster joint compound stuff is all done. Building is finished, other than painting. I have a couple little cars I'm going to have here. This is going to be, I'm going to make an addition right here, so depending on, it'd be like an extension of a parking lot with maybe a drive down, so that it can be used if you don't want to sink it into a layout with the foam depth. This is just an extra piece is all it is. So the next step is going to be the painting. I'm going to put the base colors down today. Okay, I'll go over quickly here the colors I use. This is what all the rock will get painted to start off with, and then I'll go light and dark depending on what I need to. Timeless Gray, I will use this for some light highlights. This is the color Light Mocha I use for all the ground areas. White for tinting. The same with the black. And then I have backup grays if I need them. These are the 3 brushes I use. I mostly use this. I use this for the smaller, harder to get areas and for the very small areas. Plate here is to put the paint on. All right, I'm going to start with the dirt. Going to thin it down a little bit. And I'm bringing this up. I'm going to make this all rock. So I'm going to bring this up and I'll fade it into the rock after a while. Just getting the base color down. This is the parking lot area, so I'm just making it dirt and any path areas. That's it for that right now. I'm going to have to do a lot of blending and stuff after a while. Thin areas I'll come back in here and get real quick. Dirt and bring it over into the stone area just a little bit more. And then I'll blend those 2 colors together. Okay. So next is the elephant gray. Get a little extra paint right here where it got thin. Nice. Yeah, I like that. Since this is already dried here, come back in and do my second coat. Get rid of the white that's underneath. That way, while this has still got some water here on the surface, we can blend out. All right. And of course, when I do my black overwash of everything, this will really blend together even more. This is just getting a basic fade in. Okay, I'm going to give you a little pan around here of how this looks. Okay. So, a few of these areas have already dried well enough to be able to move on to the next step. I usually wait till it becomes completely dry. So the next step is this. I'm going to start right here. Change my water, go to the black water. Start thinning it down. We go to the dark shadows first, and then at the very end we'll put the light highlights on. Then after I dull coat the whole thing, I'll do any touch-ups that are needed. So this is what we're starting with. You want paint that's about the consistency of ink. All right, here we go. I'm going to pick a little bit up. I'm just going to put it right here. Get a bunch of water. We're going to let it flow. All right. Now, once this dries, you can really see how the difference is here. Let me turn this yellow light off. Now you can see the real grays. Okay, so that's it for this batch. Next we'll be coming in to do the dry brushing, to do all the highlights. But I can't do that till this is thoroughly dried, which will take a few hours. Okay, things have dried up pretty good. As you can see here, really nice. I'll be able to do some close-ups here in a little while where you can really see it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the middle tone back in place on top areas. And then we'll do the real light highlights on the edges. And I also cut out the foam for the backside in case, for application purposes, for putting it into a layout. If you don't have foam to sink this down in, I think I told you a little bit before where I was going to make another parking lot area with a ramp down. So I will get that covered in plaster. So, but anyway, I want to get to this. So hang on here and we'll get going. Okay, so I've begun the lighter color, the elephant gray here. So you can see what I've done here, these lighter areas that I started to put in. I don't know if you'll be able to see the actual work, but I'll show it afterwards. All I'm doing right now is just doing some highlights. This is dry brush. There's very little paint on the brush. And you just lightly drag it. Like that. Here, let me see if I can get the light here. You can see where that's coming in at. See the light's really coming in now. Okay, I'm going to show you what's been done. All right, so as you can see, there's lots of light highlights now. Fantastic color combinations are really starting to come into play. See how that really looks there without the yellow light, just pure LED light now. All right, we have one final step to go. We'll mix these together. We want to get down to about 50% in tint off of what the original was. That's pretty good. Maybe just a little darker. There we go. And that is about half as dark as what that is. Okay, so there we go. Last step. Let me get a fresh paper towel. So I don't want any of the dark coming in. So, like before, I'm going to wet an area here, get it flowing well. All right. Get all the excess water off the brush. All right, here we go. We're doing the same thing. Dry brush. Get that, put that, grab a little bit off the paper towel. Here we go. Put the light back on so I can see my tones. Real light. Just the edges. Okay. So here we go. You can see here all of the varying colors. I'm hoping this really comes out on the camera because, boy, it looks great in person here. Everything's blended in well. Light highlights, dark highlights, all of it. So, the painting on this is done. So I'm going to create the parking area addition that's going to go right back over here. And we will get an update on that when it's finished. That'll wrap it up. All right, here's the final update on the lighthouse. For right now, as you can see, it's all up in place. I'll do a little more of a pan around on it. I did paint the upper to be copper like it is. This is based on, I don't know if I said it before, this is based on the Boston one. So the Boston one had a copper top, so I did copper with a bit of the oxidization on it. And then, of course, there's the railings and everything, and I did some good rust weather effects on that. Here's the little house in the back. I'm not going to be able to spin this around because I have this sitting back here, this addition. But I'll try to get as much as I possibly can. And I got a little car here just for scale to show you like where the parking would be. So the way I designed this last part right back here is this is a separate piece, and I made this in case a person didn't have foam to set this down into, if they're not using foam as a base. This way they can make this just a standalone thing on their layout, to where you can have access. You see back here, there's a ramp that goes up right there, and all you'd have to do is glue this to this and joint compound right across this right here, the very end, and then just a little bit of touch-up paint to seal it and make it blend in with the other. So that's all you would have to do on that. This light's really got some nice shine down, so you can see where I've done all of my light effects, dark effects. Next step would actually be, which we will show on a different video, but it won't be on this, but I've got some really good techniques for doing the water, to where you could have waves crashing up right against these areas right here, like that. I do have a dock that we've made that I would have come out from here, out here, right here with maybe a T on it, and have a couple of boats moored right here for people that are just sightseeing and wanted to come see the lighthouse. And then, of course, the other side, it's like it was. Don't have a lot of light over there on that. Maybe I'll try to rotate this just a little bit. I don't have the lighthouse glued to it. Oh, okay. There we go. So you can see the back side of it here. There. And then, of course, this would be right here, like this. All right, so now you can actually see the back side of this. The earth blended with the rock came out fantastic. Looks well worn. Okay, we'll just rotate this back around. It's standing pretty firm there, isn't it? Good. Okay. All right, so this project is done. I hope you've enjoyed it. Our next project is going to be a small mountain scene with some cabins. And on that one, I'm going to be actually adding ground cover. So we'll actually be like in this dirt area right here that you see. I'll be sprinkling Woodland Scenics ground cover here to give us some texturing in like these areas here and up here. And obviously, being a mountain scene, we'll be using turf grass colors, and may even be doing some trees. I'm not sure yet if we're going to do trees on that one, or if we'll wait a little bit until on down the line with doing the mountain projects. So really all that's left here is I haven't put the window glazing in up here because I haven't decided if I'm going to put a beacon in yet, and the roof isn't glued on either. If I want to put a rotating beacon there, and I don't have the window glazing in on the cabin, either the lightkeeper's house. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this project, and look for new ones to come, probably in about a week. And again, this was a great Z-scale project, and hope it gives you some ideas. And we may actually be making this available, if there's interest in it, as a casting, an actual plaster casting. I haven't decided yet on that or not, but what it would be is you would get this as a casting, and you would get this as a casting, that as a casting. So we'll decide on that after a while if we get enough interest as far as likes, views, everything on this. Any comments about it, we may make it a casting that you can buy, and then you just use the tutorial we showed you here on how to paint it. So, okay, well, thanks for watching.